In the world of cultivators, destiny was etched in bone. The 4 grades of spiritual aptitude were absolute, a celestial decree that separated the divine from the dust. At the apex were the 1st grade heavenly spirit bones, born to touch the sky. Below them, the 2nd grade gold, the 3rd grade mystic, and finally, the 4th grade white spirit bones, barely a step above the common rabble. And then there were the truly forsaken, the ignorant masses with mortal bones, deemed to have no fate with the path of immortality. Tai Bing, a voice, stern and final, echoed in the young man's ears. Your mortal destiny at the foot of this mountain has ended. From this day forward, you will seek the path of the immortals with us. His name was Hu Tai Bing, a name that meant peace, though his life had known little of it. Now he stood before the Dragon Gate Hall of the Tonghuan sect, a place of myth and legend, his heart a frantic drum against his ribs. He was a boy plucked from the dirt, a stray given a chance at the heavens. First, you must have your spirit bones tested, the elder instructed, his gaze impassive. Nearby, other aspirants whispered, their fine robes and confident airs a stark contrast to Tai Bing's simple tunic. A young man with a sharp face, Ling But Nu, offered a comforting smile. Don't be nervous, little Tai Bing, just do as the elder says. He had been chosen by the ancient spirit bone stele itself, a sign of immense talent. Another, Xiep Huan, the 9th prince of the heavenly wolf nation, radiated an aura of pure power, his gold spirit aptitude already a foregone conclusion. The sect buzzed with anticipation for these chosen few. But Tai Bing was not one of them. He was a secret, a fraud. Before the test, a benefactor, Elder Kim Ha, had pressed a pill into his hand. Swallow this, and you will instantly manifest spirit bones, he had whispered, his voice laced with a chilling warning. Remember, let no one discover you are a mortal bone. If you are exposed, your spirit and memories will be erased, turning you into a drooling fool. The weight of that secret pressed down on him as he approached the monolithic testing stone. He placed his hand upon its cold, unyielding surface. A flicker of light, weak and pathetic, sputtered to life. White spirit bone, announced an elder, his tone flat with disappointment. The hall erupted in sneers. A vile spirit bone, no different from a commoner, someone jeered. To think he shamelessly sought to enter our sect. Our first peak would never accept such trash, another declared. The words were daggers. A white spirit bone was a sentence to a life of mediocrity, a cultivator in name only. They were given no resources, no respect. They were destined to toil for a lifetime with no hope of a breakthrough. The elder who had brought him, Thong Tio, looked at him with pity. Tai Bing, I have seen many disciples with white spirit bones cultivate their entire lives without achieving anything. In this sect, you will not be allocated any resources. A normal life is perhaps its own form of liberation. To live as a commoner again, after tasting the hope of immortality? The thought was unbearable. Can't I cultivate with you? He asked, his voice trembling. The head elder delivered the verdict. A white spirit bone is not qualified to be a disciple of the 7 peaks. You may remain at the foot of the mountain as an outer sect disciple for 3 years and then participate in the selection trials, or you may leave now. A fire ignited in Tai Bing's soul, a stubborn flame that refused to be extinguished. If I can pass the 7 peaks selection, he said, his voice ringing with newfound resolve, can I then be accepted into one of the peaks? The elder, impressed by his audacity, made a solemn promise. I guarantee it. If you pass the selection, the gates of the 7 peaks will always be open to you. Elder, I wish to stay and train for 3 years, Tai Bing declared. He was given a small pouch containing 30 merit points, a bronze mirror for listening to lectures from afar, and assigned a place to cultivate at the foot of the mountain by the West Peak Pavilion. As his friends ascended the mountain to their glorious new lives, promising to wait for him, a shadow fell over his future. Brother, a disciple reported to Elder Kim Ha, As you instructed, I have had the West Peak Pavilion assign the green bamboo residence to Hu Tai-bing. Kim Ha smiled, a cruel, predatory expression. Anyone the West Peak has their eye on, even a white spirit bone, I must destroy. Let the evil spirits there entertain him. Brother, there are evil spirits at the green bamboo residence? The disciple asked, alarmed. I say there are, Kim replied, his voice chillingly final. Tai-bing arrived at his new home, a secluded bamboo grove. He remembered a final gift from his grandfather, a single, ordinary-looking bean. When you enter the immortal sect, the old man had said, plant this bean in immortal soil. You will receive a great opportunity. He dutifully planted the bean. The moment it touched the earth, it erupted in an ethereal blow, and from the light, a woman of breathtaking beauty materialized. Her form was translucent, a spirit of immense power and sorrow. How interesting, she mused, her voice like ancient chimes. A mortal bone within an immortal sect. Who are you? Tai-bing stammered, stumbling back. My true name is Sa Lin Wiet, she explained. 600 years ago, I was ambushed by my enemies. A wisp of my shattered soul escaped into this bean to survive. I appear today because I wish to make a deal with you. What kind of deal? This bean contains the key to restoring my soul. You need only take half of the spirit essence within. The rest you give to me. In exchange, she said, her eyes piercing him with an intensity that saw through his very soul, I will forge a black jade blood-soul pact with you. She instructed him to extend his hand, and together they recited an ancient oath under the watchful eyes of the 9 celestial heavens. I, Sa Lin Wiet, I, Hua Tai-bing, bind our fates as one. From this day our destinies are intertwined, our minds resonant. Through 10,000 calamities and blazing flames, I will walk beside you. A mystical connection flared between them, a bond deeper than blood, linking their very life forces. The pact is made, Lin Wiet declared, a hint of warmth in her voice. Henceforth we share one life, and for this joyous occasion I shall grant you another gift. With a wave of her hand, she created a shimmering formation around the grove. This is the Minor 3 Talent Spirit Gathering Array. It will not only triple the yield of your spiritual plants, but also protect you from lesser demons. Under Lin Wiet's guidance, Tai-bing's true journey began. She scoffed at the sect's basic lectures. That useless cultivation art isn't worth listening to. I have a method that can truly help you. She revealed the harsh truth of his path. Cultivation was the forging of one's own body, a refinement of the mortal coil into something divine. She would teach him the marrow cleansing and bone forging art, a supreme body tempering technique. But there is a catch, she warned, her expression grave. Once you begin, you cannot stop. As a mortal bone, the pain you endure will be 10 times that of a normal cultivator. If you succeed, you will shatter the limits of your mortal frame. If you fail, at best your meridians will be destroyed. At worst, your soul will scatter into nothingness. I am not afraid of pain, Tai-bing said, his jaw set. Lin Wiet gave a sad smile. You say that because you have never tasted true agony. The process was a hell beyond imagination. Every fiber of his being screamed as the spiritual energy scoured his meridians, grinding his bones to dust and reforging them. The pain was so absolute, it dredged up the ghosts of his past. The gnawing hunger of poverty, the sting of a whip, the ultimate betrayal when his own grandfather sold him for a pittance. Why did you sell me? His younger self cried in his memory. Your life is cheap, came the heartless reply. You were born to be worthless. He saw himself as a child, fighting for scraps, his small body bruised and broken. Fight for yourself, Hua Tai-bing, a voice inside him roared. You must fight for this one chance. He clung to that sliver of defiance, that single breath of rebellion against a fate that had declared him worthless. He endured. To persist to this degree, for a mortal, it is truly not easy. Lingwit's voice cut through the haze of agony. "Congratulations! You have achieved the stainless body. From now on, your cultivation speed, though not equal to a gold spirit bone, will be no less than that of a mystic spirit bone." Power surged through him, a vibrant, living force he had never known. He had 6 more temperings to undergo, each one exponentially more difficult and agonizing than the last. But for the first time, victory in the selection trials felt possible. One evening, a frantic knock came at his gate. A young woman, her clothes torn, stumbled into his yard. "Help me, young master," she cried. "I am Liu Qingmei, an outer sect discipline. I was gathering herbs when I was chased by a demon beast. Please let me take shelter." Tai Bing, wary but compassionate, allowed her inside. But something was wrong. Her story didn't add up. She claimed to be chased through the wilderness, yet her shoes were immaculately clean. His suspicion was a cold knot in his stomach. "You figured it out, have you?" The woman's demeanor shifted in an instant. Her eyes gleamed with a malevolent light, her voice turning guttural and mocking. "Then die!" She lunged, but Tai Bin, his body forged in unimaginable pain, reacted with lightning speed. He met her attack with a punch that carried the force of 500 pounds, sending her reeling. It was not a demon beast, but a bone ghoul, a vile spirit that possessed the bodies of the dead. It had underestimated him, believing him to be a common outer sect disciple. The ghoul was stunned. How could a mere outer disciple possess such terrifying physical strength? After a brief, brutal struggle, Tai Ben subdued the creature. The ghoul, now trapped, revealed its host's tragic story. Liu Qingmei had been a disciple who had been tricked, blackmailed, and assaulted by a senior disciple, who then left her for dead in the mountains where the ghoul found her. Her dying wish was not for revenge, but to protect her younger sister, Liu Ziqi, and another friend from the same vile predator. The man's name was Kim Ha. The name struck Tai Ben like a physical blow. The same Kim Ha who had given him the pill, who had arranged for him to live in this haunted grove. It was all a setup. "The wine song ghoul will be here soon," the spirit of Liu Qingmei warned before fading. "He died a drunkard in life. Wine is tied to his fate." Just as she predicted, a more powerful entity arrived, a ghoul reeking of stale wine and malice. It was the bone ghoul's master. But the spirit gathering array held it at bay. "A mere whelp who hasn't even opened his spiritual gates dares to injure my servant?" the ghoul bellowed, its voice a drunken slur. Tai Ben, guided by Ling Wit and empowered by his tempered body, faced the creature. He had learned the green ox fist, a powerful martial art, and combined it with the knowledge Ling Wit had imparted. The battle was fierce. The ghoul was strong, using a tiger stone staff to shatter the very earth. But Tai Ben was relentless. He recalled the spirit of Liu Qingmei, the injustice she suffered, and the promise he made. He fought not just for himself, but for her. "Who told you wine was my bane?" the ghoul shrieked, as Tai Ben exploited its weakness. "It must have been that bitch!" In its final moments, it saw not a boy, but a reflection of its own past. "I was once a mortal bone too," it rasped, its form dissolving. "They used their superior spirit bones to treat me like an ant. I fought, I struggled, and they crushed me with ease. If only I had met you sooner." As the ghoul dissipated, a far more menacing voice echoed from the void. "Who killed my servant?" it thundered. "Brat, in 3 months I will find you, peel your skin, and imprison your soul in a lamp cord to be burned for eternity." The threat was from a tiger demon, the true power behind the ghouls. Shaken but resolute, Tai Ben knew he had to grow stronger, faster. Among the ghoul's remains, he found a chi gathering pill, a treasure that could help him break through to the first true stage of cultivation, the enlightenment realm. With Ling Wit standing guard, he consumed the pill. As the energy surged through him, a profound connection to the world opened up. He could feel it, the vast empty space within his dantian, the chi-si. He had finally, truly stepped onto the path. But his breakthrough did not go unnoticed. A sinister, otherworldly presence was drawn to his pure, nascent Tao heart. A mortal bone with a Tao heart of supreme clarity, a demonic voice whispered from the void. The heavens are truly cruel and hilarious. I am Sir Ling Wit of the Myriad Flower Palace. Ling Wit's spirit roared, manifesting to protect him. Even if the demon lord were here, he would not dare touch him. She repelled the entity, but the effort drained her immensely. Little rabbit, her voice came to him, faint and weary from the being which was now her sanctuary. When you awaken, I will be in a deep slumber within the imperial abode. I had to repel an outer world demon for you. The tiger demon, you will have to face it on your own now. He awoke to find himself alone, yet not entirely. He was stronger, his senses sharper. He had touched the sea of Qi. He was a cultivator. He would have to work 100, 1,000 times harder than anyone else, but he would walk this path. The 3 months passed in a blur of relentless training. Then the day of reckoning arrived. The tiger demon, a monstrous beast secretly raised by Kim Ha to do his dirty work, came for him. It was an unequal fight. The demon was on the verge of becoming a demon king, its power far surpassing Tai Bin's nascent abilities. Other disciples, including Diep Huin and Ling But Nu, were sent to hunt it, but they too were overwhelmed.
Kim Ha, watching from afar, intended for them all to become the beast's food, a blood sacrifice to fuel its final transformation. As the demon cornered Ling But Nu and Diep Huin, ready to devour them, Tai Bing intervened. He fought with a ferocity that bordered on madness, but the gap in power was too vast. As the beast's claws descended, a familiar voice echoed in his mind. "Little Tai Bing." It was Ling Wet, her soul weak but still present. "I am speaking to you using a thread of my spirit. I can control your body, but only for the duration of a single punch. Watch closely." In that instant, Tai Bing's body moved with an impossible grace and power. It was still his fist, his arm, but the execution was divine. The air itself seemed to compress, time slowing to a crawl. 1,000 punches, each a cataclysm of force, were condensed into a single transcendent moment. The technique was called the Heavenly Fold Sutra. The punch connected. The tiger demon, a creature of immense might, was obliterated, its body turned to ash by a power it couldn't comprehend. Ling Wiet's presence faded again, the effort having exhausted her. The other disciples stared in disbelief. They had seen a miracle. Wounded and weary, the dying tiger demon recognized the scent of its true master's servant on Tai Bing. "It was you. You killed my servant." But it saw something else in the boy's eyes, a reflection of its own struggle against a world that had chained it. The so-called rules of heaven and earth should not be decided by a chosen few, it rasped, its life fading. All living beings should be equal. I am willing to die by your hand. You are not like them. From the demon's remains, Tai Bing retrieved its natal core, a pulsating orb of pure energy, far more potent than any elixir. This can help you build your foundation and break through to the forget-sorrow realm, Ling Wit's voice whispered weakly. But its power is immense. A single misstep will shatter your meridians. Do you dare to risk it? I am a mortal bone, Tai Bing replied, his gaze unwavering. If I don't even dare to take this risk, how can I ever hope to defy my fate? He would not lose. He endured another excruciating refinement, his body breaking and rebuilding itself around the demon's furious energy. When the ordeal was over, he was stronger than ever. Ling Wit, seeing his unyielding will, decided the time was right. She imparted to him a true body cultivation art, a method for forging not just a strong physique, but a Tao bone of indestructible iron, a body capable of shattering the void itself. The path of cultivation, she taught him, was never meant to be defined by one's birth. 3 years had passed since he was left at the foot of the mountain. The 7 Peaks selection trial had begun. It was time for the world to see what a mortal bone could do. The grand arena of the Thangwian sect buzzed with anticipation. Disciples, old and new, gathered to witness the trials that would determine the fate of the next generation. When Hu Taibing's name was called, a ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd. "It's Taibing, he actually came. 3 years, he's matured so much." His first opponent was Dian Pot, a brutal fighter from the Hunting Wind Manor, infamous for his deadly ghost shadow kick. In the last selection, he had killed over 40 opponents. The crowd smelled blood. "Poor Taibing," someone whispered. "To draw Dian Pot in the first round, he doesn't stand a chance." "A fight is determined by foundation and strength," sneered a female disciple, looking at Taibing's plain attire with disdain. "What future does someone like him have?" The gong sounded. "I only need one move to take your life," Dian Pot snarled, his body blurring into a series of phantom kicks. But Taibing was no longer the weak boy from 3 years ago. His body, tempered by hellish pain and forged by a divine art, moved with preternatural speed. He evaded the deadly kick. The crowd gasped. He met Dian Pot's assault with the green ox fist, a basic martial art he had purchased with his meager merit points. Yet in his hands, the simple punches and blocks carried the weight of a charging mountain. Each blow was precise, powerful, and utterly relentless. He was matching the infamous Dian Pot, blow for blow. He was even pushing him back. "How can I lose to a wild brat from the mountains?" Dian Pot roared, his frustration mounting. "You forced my hand." A malevolent, dark energy coiled around his legs. This was no righteous sect technique. It was a demonic art. "That's a vile technique. Why aren't the elders stopping him?" a spectator cried out. Taibing recognized the technique's immense drain on stamina. He unleashed the Raging Ox Stampede, a high-risk, high-reward move that consumed a massive amount of physical energy. He struck once, staggering his opponent.
Then, to everyone's astonishment, he did it again. Impossible! The Raging Ox Stampede damages the user's body. No one can use it twice. But Taibin's body was no ordinary vessel. It was a weapon forged in agony. His second strike shattered Dian Thut's defense and sent him flying from the stage, unconscious. Hu Taibin wins! His friends, Thang Tio and Lin Lung from the 7th Peak, looked on with pride and relief. The trials, however, were far from over. His next opponent was Ker Vo U, a notoriously cruel disciple from a wealthy family, known as the finest blade wielder below the Enlightenment realm. The match had been deliberately arranged by his old nemesis, Kim Ha. "You use a blade, so I shall use a blade," Taibin declared, drawing a plain, unadorned iron knife. Ker Vo U scoffed, wielding a magnificent, spirit-infused saber. "Are you so poor you can't even afford a decent weapon? You court death." The duel began. Ker Vo U unleashed the Seven Slays saber, a complex and deadly art. But Taibin met him with the same technique. For 3 years, he hadn't just practiced his fists. He had drilled with his blade, day after day, until every movement was etched into his muscle memory. He had taken a difficult, foolish path, mastering the art through brute repetition, but the result was a foundation as solid as bedrock. He fought Ker Vo U to a standstill. The crowd was stunned. How could a newcomer who had only trained for 3 years match a master who had honed his craft for over 2 decades? Enraged and humiliated, Ker Vo U resorted to a forbidden curse, the Twin Spears Talisman. It was a wicked art that inflicted upon his opponent 10 times the pain he inflicted upon himself. He stabbed his own thigh, and a wave of searing agony, magnified 10-fold, washed over Taibin. "Let's see how you endure this," Ker Vo cackled, stabbing himself again and again, reveling in their shared torment. Taibin's body convulsed, but he did not scream. His eyes, clear and unyielding, remained fixed on his opponent. The pain, as excruciating as it was a familiar companion.
It was but a pale echo of the torment he had endured under Ling Guet's training. "What you call 10 times the agony," Tai Bin grunted, his voice steady despite the pain, "is merely a minor torture." He pushed through the curse, his will an unbreakable shield. He saw his opening and struck, his iron knife finding its mark. Kervo U fell. Tai Bin had won again. His victory, however, had drawn the ire of the most powerful figures in the sect. Kim Ha, his face a mask of fury, stood up. "As the champion of the previous selection, I have the right to propose a questioning sword match," he announced, his voice dripping with venom. He pointed a finger at Tai Bin. "First Peak challenges Hu Thai Bin." His chosen champion was none other than Diep Huen, the 9th prince, a prodigy of the gold spirit bone. It was a death sentence. "The rules of the match are as follows," an elder declared. "Both combatants must suppress their cultivation to the enlightenment realm. No techniques or treasures above that level are permitted." "To kill someone, an iron sword is enough," Diep Huen said with cold arrogance, stepping onto the stage. Tai Bin, knowing his simple knife was no match, calmly walked to the edge of the stage where a weapon rack stood. He began swapping out his blade. And another. And another. He had a whole sheath full of cheap, identical iron knives. The fight began. Diep Huen, even with his power suppressed, was a force of nature. The sheer pressure of his aura, the aura of a peak enlightenment realm cultivator, was enough to crush a lesser man. But as the pressure washed over Tai Bin, something within him awakened. A torrent of power, honed through years of suffering and relentless training, erupted from his being. He too had reached the peak of the enlightenment realm. "How?" Diep Huen stammered, his composure cracking. "How could you know about what Kim Ha did to Liu Qingmei and still choose to help that monster?" "In this world, strength is the only truth," Diep Huen replied, his blade a blur of motion. The fight was a storm of steel. Every time their blades clashed, a new notch appeared on Tai Bin's cheap iron knife. He would discard the damaged weapon and draw a new one without breaking his rhythm. His strategy was unorthodox, born of poverty and desperation, but it was effective. Yet he was still being pushed back. Diep Huen's foundation was simply too deep. The years of superior resources and innate talent were a chasm between them. Frustrated and unable to secure a swift victory, Diep Huen broke the rules. A terrifying pressure, the power of the Forget Sorrow realm, erupted from him, slamming into Tai Bin. "He's cheating! This is a violation!" the crowd yelled. But the sectmaster remained silent. Diep Huen was too valuable, his talent too great. The rules could be bent for him. "Life has never been fair," the sectmaster's voice echoed telepathically to the other elders. "If you are born a heavenly spirit, you stand above others. If you are a mortal bone, you are destined to be an insect." Injustice, raw and blatant, hung heavy in the air. As Diep Huen prepared to deliver the final blow, a sigh echoed across the arena, a sound that seemed to carry the weight of ages. "That's enough." An eccentric, unassuming old man had appeared on the stage. It was the little martial uncle, a legendary figure within the sect, a reclusive grand elder who had not been seen in years. He was a being who had once single-handedly fought and grievously wounded the demon lord himself. He fixed the sectmaster with a disappointed gaze. "You run this sect like a chaotic chicken coop. So, in your eyes, a person with high talent can bully one with low talent? Is that it?" He then turned to Diep Huen. "Apologize to Hua Tai Bin." Forced by the immense pressure of the Grand Elder, Diep Huen, the proud prince, bowed his head and mumbled an apology. The trial was over. It was time for the peaks to select their disciples. One by one, the peak lords made their offers, each trying to entice the prodigious victors. When it came to Tai Bin, a bidding war erupted. The 5th peak offered a martial arts grandmaster. The 3rd peak promised personal instruction. The first peak, in a shocking move, even offered him their two supreme cultivation arts. But before he could answer, the little martial uncle spoke again. "Boy, I'll give you another choice. Your aptitude is poor, and you're not as handsome as I was in my youth, but for your performance today, I will reluctantly accept you as my final disciple." The entire sect held its breath. The little martial uncle had not accepted a disciple in 100 years. To become his student was an opportunity that transcended destiny itself. Tai Bing bowed deeply. "Thank you for your kindness, Grand Elder. However, 3 years ago, I made a promise to my friends, senior brother Thung Tio and senior sister Lin Lung. After passing the selection, I would join them on the 7th peak." He chose the 7th peak, the poorest, most neglected peak in the entire sect, over the greatest opportunity in the world. He chose loyalty. "You brat," the little martial uncle huffed, though a smile played on his lips. "You dare refuse me? Fine, but I'll make you beg me to take you as my disciple one day." He then turned to the sect master. "This matter isn't over. I want to have a long talk with you about this boy." Hua Taibing was now officially a disciple of the Tonghuan sect. But there was one final trial. As a new disciple, he had to undertake a mission alone. He was tasked with escorting the 6th princess of the White Tree Kingdom, Li Yuk, on a diplomatic mission. It was a perilous journey, and he would later learn another trap laid for him by the sect master, who saw him as a threat favored by the little martial uncle. The path of a mortal bone was paved not with gold, but with endless tribulation. The mission was a hornet's nest from the start. Tai Bing found Princess Li Yuk and her retinue pinned down in the Mandalana Mountains, besieged by assassins. The man leading the assault was Chu, a ruthless warrior from the Blood Pearl sect, whose reputation preceded him. "So this is the reinforcement you've been waiting for," Chu sneered, sizing up Tai Bing's simple attire. "A country bumpkin?" Tai Bing didn't waste words. He moved with a speed and power that defied his appearance. He dismantled Chu's elite guards with brutal efficiency, his fists and feet a blur of controlled force. He was a peak-level martial master, a realization that stunned the princess's guards. But Chu was no ordinary foe. Swallowing a demonic soul-devouring pill, he temporarily gained the power of a cultivator, his speed and strength multiplying. The fight was intense, a whirlwind of flashing steel and concussive blows. But Tai Bing's body had been forged in a crucible far hotter than any alchemical pill. His endurance was inhuman, his will unbreakable. He weathered the storm of Chu's empowered assault and, with a final decisive strike, ended the threat. The princess, Li Yuk, was a woman of quiet strength and deep sorrow. Her gratitude was palpable, but she had another, more desperate request. "There is one more person I need you to kill," she said, her voice heavy. She offered him a priceless treasure in return, an ancient, ornate sword sheath. "Even my sister Lin Wiet says this artifact holds a terrifying sword intent," Tai Bing thought, feeling the immense power radiating from the sheath. It had once belonged to a legendary disciple of the sect's 9th patriarch, a man who, like him, had possessed a white spirit bone. "Who do you want me to kill?" Tai Bing asked. "His name is Fan Qi," the princess replied. "He was once the strongest general of the White Tree Kingdom. But for his own ambition, he betrayed us, leading to the slaughter of 9 cities. The world knows him now as the Butcher." The task led them to Huang Mai, a lawless town where Fan Qi had established his wrathful spring villa. There he held a standing challenge on a life-or-death dueling platform. Any who could defeat him would win all he possessed. The day of the duel, Tai Bing witnessed a heart-wrenching spectacle. One by one, Princess Li Yuk's loyal retainers, men of great courage but limited skill, stepped onto the platform to face Fan Qi. They knew they stood no chance. Their only goal was to chip away at the Butcher's stamina, to bleed him of his strength, to give their final hope, Tai Bing, a slightly better chance of success. Tao Yan of the White Tree Kingdom has come to die, the first one roared, charging to his doom. He fell in 7 moves. Wang Qinhao has come to die, yelled the second, meeting a similar fate. One after another, they sacrificed themselves, their loyalty a blazing pyre. Their selfless courage resonated deep within Tai Bing's soul. These were ordinary men, mortals with no hope of immortality, yet they faced certain death for a cause they believed in. Their righteous fury, their unwavering will, became a part of him. "It seems these mortals have forgotten themselves," sneered Huang Tux, an agent of the Immortal Division who was secretly observing the duel. "We seek eternal life and cannot grasp it, yet they willingly throw their lives away for the sake of honor." Finally, it was Tai Bing's turn. He stepped on to the blood-soaked platform. "I come at the behest of the 6th princess," he declared, his voice ringing across the arena. "Not to die, but to take the head from your shoulders." Fan Qi, a mountain of a man with eyes that had seen oceans of blood, laughed. "A cultivator from the mountains? I've killed plenty of your kind on this platform." As they began to fight, both men shocked the audience. They stripped off weighted vests, revealing they had both been training under immense pressure. The clash was titanic. Fan Qi was a Va-Tan, a martial grand master, his every strike infused with the slaughter of thousands, a killing intent so potent it could shatter a man's spirit. But Tai Bing met that killing intent with something new, something forged in the crucible of that morning's sacrifice. He channeled the will of the fallen retainers, the righteous fury of a nation betrayed. His fist, once just a weapon of force, now carried an idea, a purpose. It was fist will. Their battle transcended mere physical combat. It was a clash of philosophies. Fan Qi fought with the rage of a man who had sacrificed everything, his family, his honor, his homeland, for power, only to find himself a pawn in a larger game. He was a beast backed into a corner. Tai Bing fought with the spirit of a mortal bone who refused to kneel, fueled by the memory of every injustice, every sneer, and now by the selfless valor of the men who had died before him. "From this day forward," he roared, "I, Hua Tai Bing, will carry the will of all mortal bones, and I will fight for those who protect their homes until death." His will, pure and righteous, overwhelmed Fan Qi's, which was born of betrayal and regret. In the end, the old general fell, not with hatred, but with a kind of peace. "That final punch, magnificent," he whispered, his life fading. He saw in Tai Bing not an enemy, but the man he once wished he could be. To the hundreds of thousands of souls of the White Tree Kingdom, you may finally rest. The mission was not over. The princess revealed the final part of her mother's plan. It was not a peace treaty she carried, but a suicide note. Her true mission was to die, a final desperate plea to the emperor of the enemy nation, Wu Ku. As she entered the court, ready to meet her end, Tai Bing sensed a powerful hidden magic. The emperor of Wu Ku was not what he seemed. Following an instinct and a poem left by his grandfather, Tai Bing strode into the throne room. "Who are you, a cultivator daring to intrude upon my court?" the emperor demanded. Tai Bing recited the poem. The emperor's eyes widened in shock. The air shimmered, and the illusion of the court dissolved. The emperor and the princess were not mortal royalty. They were fallen immortals, powerful beings who reincarnated again and again, their memories sealed until a specific trigger, the poem, awakened them. They were Hung Nam Thien and Thut Hai Dung, legendary figures from a bygone era, and this entire conflict had been a convoluted plot by their enemies to destroy them. They had been saved. In gratitude, they gave Tai Bing a half-jade amulet as proof of his success and promised to handle the political fallout. He returned to the Thunhuan sect, only to walk into another trap.
The sect master, in league with Kim Ha's father, declared his mission a failure. "News has arrived," he announced coldly. "The sixth princess attempted to assassinate the Wu Q emperor and was executed. You are lying, Hua Taibing. You stole that amulet from her before her death." He was accused of fabricating his success, a crime punishable by the sect's unforgiving law. The entire seventh peak would be punished alongside him. They brought out the heart-questioning mirror, an artifact that could detect any falsehood. Taibing, calm and resolute, stood before the mirror. "Did you break any sect rules during your mission?" "No." The mirror remained clear. "Did the princess give you the amulet with her own hands?" "Yes." The mirror remained clear. "Did you escort the living princess from the Wu Q palace?" "Yes." The mirror glowed with a pure, unwavering light. He had spoken the truth. His accusers were stunned, sputtering about the mirror being flawed. Just as they were about to drag him to the punishment hall anyway, a voice, vast and powerful, boomed from the heavens, shaking the very foundations of the sect. "Listen up, you trash of the Thunhuan sect. In gratitude for our little brother Taibing protecting us on our journey, my husband and I have come to pay a visit. If we find out you have been bullying this honest young man, we will personally come to your mountain and have a nice chat." The message from the two awakened immortals was clear. Taibing was under their protection. The sect master, his face pale, was forced to concede. Not only was Taibing exonerated, but his accusers were forced to pay him 10 times the mission reward in merit points as an apology. For the first time in the sect's history, a disciple had forced the sect master to bow his head in apology twice. Vindicated, Taibing learned of another tragedy. Liu Ziqi, Liu Qingmei's sister, had attempted to assassinate Kim Ha in a fit of grief and rage. She had failed and was now imprisoned, her cultivation shattered, awaiting expulsion from the sect as a mortal. Taibing visited her in her cell. She was a broken woman, starving herself, ready to die. "My sister is gone," she whispered, her voice hollow. "I couldn't get revenge. There is no meaning left in living." "Is Kim Ha not still alive?" Taibing asked gently. "As long as he lives, how can you die before him? Only the living have a chance at revenge." He spoke of the vastness of the world, of paths beyond cultivation. He urged her to find a new way, to forge a road that belongs to a mortal bone, to live and grow strong for the day justice could be served. His words, born of his own struggle, rekindled a flicker of hope in her desolate heart. She began to eat. Now only one thing remained: justice for the Liu sisters. Taibing took his simple iron knife and walked into the night. He was not just an outer sect disciple anymore. He was a force of reckoning. As he prepared for his solitary war, a shadow detached itself from the darkness. An old, wizened man carrying a branch blocked his path. It was Elder 33, a mysterious figure who seemed to appear when least expected. "Heading out so late with a blade?" the elder chuckled. "Don't tell me where you're going. I don't want to know. I just think that while the blade is decent, the man wielding it is still lacking." The old man, with nothing but a flimsy branch, proceeded to dismantle Taibing's blade work. "Too stiff. You move like a puppet," he chided. He demonstrated 2 moves. The first, 3 parts moonlight, was a study in infinite variation, a single slash that could become 1,000. The second, the 3 realms returned to 1, was its opposite, the convergence of all complexity back into profound simplicity. "Remember," the elder said, his lesson finished, "a blade is heartless, but the wielder has a conscience. Without it, the finest technique is useless. Don't disgrace me, kid." With this newfound insight, Taibing confronted Kim Ha. The fight was brutal and unforgiving. Kim Ha, arrogant and powerful, sneered at the mortal bone trash who dared to challenge him. He unleashed his ultimate defense, the heavenly Dipric Divine armor, a treasure worth more than a small sect's entire fortune. This is the difference between us.
My father is the first peak's master. I was born in the heavens. And you, a lowly worm, come and kill me if you can. But Tai Bing's fists, infused with the elder's teachings and his own unyielding will, had become something more. His fist will could now bypass physical defenses, striking the soul within. He hammered against the armor, each blow a condemnation. This punch is for the girls you bullied. This one is for Liu Ziqi's despair. And this one for Liu Qingmei. He shattered Kim Ha's meridians, his bones, making him taste the agony he had so freely inflicted on others. In his final moments, Kim Ha, desperate, used a forbidden art to peer into Tai Bing's past. He saw a starving child, a boy sold like cattle, a life of endless suffering and humiliation. He saw the truth. "A mortal bone! We were tricked by a mortal bone!" he gasped, his life ending not with a bang, but with the pathetic whimper of a bully who had finally met his match. The moment Kim Ha fell, a terrifying roar of fury shook the mountain. "Who killed my son?" Kim Gwit, Kim Ha's father and a powerful elder of the sect, appeared in a tempest of killing intent. He was a cultivator whose power far surpassed anything Tai Bing had ever faced. "A mortal bone," he seethed, his eyes burning with hatred. "Today I will cripple you and make you accompany my son in death." He struck. The disparity in power was absolute. Tai Bing was sent flying, his body broken. But as the elder moved to finish him, figures appeared, standing between them. It was Triu Kim and the other masters of the seventh peak. "Kim Gwit, his grievances were with your son," Triu Kim said. "This is a matter for their generation. As an elder, are you going to bully a junior?" "He is a mortal bone!" Kim Gwit screamed. "You want to speak of fairness for him? Today, I will cleanse the sect's honor." Tai Bing, bloodied but unbowed, struggled to his feet. "Stand up, Hua Tai Bing," he told himself, his grandfather's desperate face flashing in his mind. He remembered the pain, the hunger, the vow he had made to fight for himself. He faced the elder. He was outmatched, but he was not broken. He remembered Ling Gwit's words. Kim Gwit's weakness was the back of his neck. He remembered the princess's gift, the ancient sword sheath. He charged. It was a suicide run, a final desperate gamble. He dodged and weaved, enduring blows that would have turned another man to dust, his eyes fixed on his single target. He channeled all his remaining power, all his will, into the sword sheath and struck. The sheath, an artifact of immense power, slammed into Kim Gwit's vital point. The elder cried out, not in death, but in agony and shock. His connection to the demonic blade spirit he had secretly bonded with was severed. Wounded and exposed, he glared at Tai Bing with pure venom. "He Tai Bing, I will remember your name," he snarled, before vanishing into the night. Tai Bing collapsed, having stared into the abyss and survived. He awoke 3 days later to find Lin But Nua at his bedside. He had become a hero to many in the sect who had long suffered under the tyranny of Kim Ha and his father. "You know," Lin But Nua said, her expression shifting from concern to a playful, alluring smile, "you're quite handsome when you're not getting beaten to a pulp. Were you thinking about me?" Tai Bing stared. "You're not Lin But Nua." The playful demeanor vanished, replaced by an ancient, weary wisdom. "I am, and I am not. The me you just saw was the me from my previous life. My memories have awakened." She too was a fallen immortal. The world was far more complex than he had ever imagined. Later, walking under the moonlit sky, he reflected on his journey. "Sister Ling Gwit," he asked the spirit in the bean, "is there truly such a thing as fairness in this world?" "The wind blows," her voice replied from his soul. "Some seeds fall on fertile soil, others into the abyss. Since when have the heavens ever been fair to all things? But that is precisely why a new wind is needed, one strong enough to overturn the stones." Her voice grew soft, yet held the weight of prophecy. "Tai Bing, do you want to change this world?" "I do," he answered, without hesitation. His answer did not go unheard. Far away, in a celestial palace, a being of immense power stirred. "So Ling Gwit, you've hidden yourself in the mortal realm again, and with a mere mortal at that. It is time." His path was now set, but it was drawing the attention of powers beyond his comprehension. The agent Huang Turk appeared before him again, not in person, but as an apparition in his mind. He spoke of ancient secrets, of a war among the 9 celestial prefectures 700 years ago, sparked by the disappearance of a supreme inheritance from the Sumeru world, a legacy left behind by a true immortal from the upper realms.
The inheritance was rumored to have fallen into the hands of 2 legendary figures, Hung Nam Thien and Thut Hai Dung, the emperor and princess. This is a quagmire of ancient hatreds and boundless ambition, Huang Tuk warned. Whether you choose to step into it is up to you. The choice, it seemed, had already been made for him. He received a summons from Hung Nam Thien and Thut Hai Dung. A mystic realm, the Cloud Dream Marsh, was about to open. They gave him precise instructions for a dangerous task within, a task that was key to their plans. Tai Bang stood at the precipice of a new, far greater conflict. He was still a mortal bone, a boy from the dirt, but he was no longer just fighting for himself. He was the new wind, destined to howl through the heavens and shake the foundations of the world.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.